if something happens to you and you have a disabled child that lives at home, an adult child, does the person that you think is going to take care of that child, do they know it? And do they have the proper documents to be able to implement? Do they have a medical guardianship, medical power of attorney? Something simple like that. Do we know who the plans are, and do we have to run off the court on an emergency basis? That's what we're always trying to avoid when we talk about planning. So it's not only documenting it, it's implementing it, going through drills. What do I mean by that? You have a person that works, that lives with you, is an adult child. They've transitioned out of school. They're working, they have job supports, but they still need a significant level of supports. The parents need to find out who is the backup, and then they need to go on vacation and try it out. They need to test the backup person. That's what has to happen if the plan is going to be successful. So it's not just about the dollars. It's about the people. It's about the church or the synagogue or about the community center that are these supports, and making sure that the public knows who they are. The idea, though, is when you're working with somebody with disabilities, it's to gain access to benefits and then, more importantly, to maintain them. Probably half the special needs matters that come to my office are somebody that has some form of benefits, something happened with their income or assets, and their benefits are at risk. Maintaining benefits, getting them is only half the problem. Actually, it's probably about a quarter of the problem. Now, we have a lot of paraprofessionals, we have a lot of nurse practitioners, and we have a lot of physician's assistants that fill in a lot of the primary care need. But access to medical care is becoming more and more critical. But medical care is going to be one of the big challenges, and making sure that your family has access to it. It is becoming critical, and it's managed, and this is not a political discussion tonight. There is, in primary care, there's a shortfall. There is a shortage of doctors, and in the disability community, it's even more acute. So having access to medical care and knowing those resources, again, this is part of planning, is writing it down so we know who they are. And that the doctors have a copy of your living will, that they have a copy of any surrogate documents that are out there for your disabled child. But the family and the community connections are probably the most important supports that are out there. And maintaining those is even more critical. One of the tricks when you deal with state and federal benefits is supports traditionally have been very inflexible. People that have a job are getting job coaching and they don't need it, but they could use some other types of supports. One of the things that the ARC of Maryland's doing, with a lot of support from the ARC of Baltimore and the other ARCs in the area, is working on legislation to make sure that the supports are there so they are more flexible, that we get the right supports to everybody. So in terms of, instead of saying we're going to give you 2 hours a week of job training, we're going to give you 2 hours a week of supports that you can use for the right and appropriate thing. Finding these supplemental funds, though, is one of the tough things to do. And by supplemental funds, I'm not talking about government funds. There are a tremendous number of nonprofits out there. And there are caregivers at the ARC of Baltimore, there are resource coordinators here that spend all day, I call it dialing for dollars, but that's what they're doing on support. BG&E bill has to get paid, ramp needs to get built. The things that the people at the ARC do are so critical, and other support areas, but finding these funds is a real art.